So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to retire. I'm Tim Reagan, founder here at Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Here at Prairie View, we believe in helping our clients live what we call their two-comma life. When you think about $1,000,000, how many commas are in it? Well, there's two. And it's not necessarily about having $1,000,000 that we talk about, but it's about living what we call the millionaire lifestyle. And when I say that to people, some people might say, gosh, I can't imagine having $1,000,000. And other people would say $1,000,000 a year, I couldn't live on that. And so again, it's not about the money, but when I say to people, you live a millionaire lifestyle, you probably think to yourself things like, I live in freedom, I live in abundance, I get to spend time with people that I want to, doing the things that I want to do. And that's what we're here to try to help people do. Try to live the life that they would want to live, the life that they would call their two-comma life. And so today, let's talk a little bit about retirement and what are some of the things that you should think about as you're either in retirement or getting ready to go there. And so the first thing that we would suggest is that you start by setting a realistic budget. When we talk about a realistic budget, it includes the things you normally think about. How much do I have do I still have a mortgage, and how much my utilities and taxes, those kinds of things. But another part to that is a little bit different in retirement is how am I going to spend my money and how is it going to look different when I'm 55 versus when I'm 85? Because you're probably going to spend money differently. And so a lot of times, what we'll actually help our clients to do is we'll encourage you, start to spend money maybe a little bit early, spend maybe a little bit more than you would at 55 than you should, because we know that at 85, you're going to slow down and you're not going to spend as much. Kind of along those same lines, when you think about life today, when do you spend the most money? Usually, people spend the most money when they're either on the weekends or on vacation. Well, when you retire, every day's the weekend and every day's vacation. And so you have the idea that you might have some of those projects around the house, maybe some gardening, maybe some more vacations, some more actual trips on your vacations. So that budget that you have to set to be realistic has to recognize a few things. One, I may spend money a little bit differently. Two, my health is never going to be better day after day. It's probably going to decline a little bit. So my spending later in life might have to shore up and shrink a little bit. So maybe I can overspend at the beginning part of my retirement. And as I mentioned, think about things like, do I want to give money to grandkids? Are there projects I want to fix up the house? Those types of things as you set that budget. A second thing that you should think about, which is kind of linked to that budget, is what's your income plan? When you think about an income plan, there are things that you have to consider. How much fixed income do I need or do I want? My suggestion would be, think about what does it take for you to live every single day and set a fixed income that's going to match that. Your fixed income are going to be things like Social Security, pension, maybe you have some farm income or some rental income. Those things are pretty fixed. You can also set up fixed income with things like annuities so that every month, no matter what, for the rest of my life, I can live my basic life. Now, over and above that, you may want to have some discretionary income, money that you can use to maybe help grandkids pay for college, or money that you can use to go on an extra vacation every year, those types of things. And so what you want to do is you want to start by saying, how much money do I need in base so I can have confidence to know I'm never going to run out of money? Then how much do I need in discretionary so that I can take some things, some trips or do some projects that maybe are on the want list, not the have-to list. The next part of that income plan is going to be all around, how do I manage my tax liability? When should I take money that's going to be taxable out of an IRA or tax-free out of a Roth IRA? That's the next piece to how do you do it. And as you put those pieces together, that all has to build towards that kind of realistic budget that we talked about as step one. Number 3 in our list is we would say you should stress test all of that. What do my investments look like, whether we have a good market, a bad market? Is my income still stable? What's the likelihood that I'm going to have enough money for the rest of my life? And it sounds like that could be complicated. It doesn't have to be. Technology today would let you run, probably 1,000 different scenarios with inflation and investments doing 1,000 different things to give you the likelihood of how likely am I to be successful in living out my life the way that I want to. Number 4 is one that probably people don't think about so much in retirement. Definitely not when they think about how do I plan for my income. But number 4 is your life insurance need. Many times people recognize, you know what, when I'm young, I have kids, I'm working, of course I need to have life insurance. However, they think once I hit retirement age, I don't need life insurance anymore. That may be the case, but many times we find that it's not the case. And the reasons that people still need life insurance, 1, it's just a good way to pass money on to the kids if you want to. 2, the bigger reason you need it is when you pass away, your spouse is going to lose some Social Security income. You don't want them losing that Social Security income to then make their likelihood of a successful retirement disappear. The other reason that this is kind of like a ancillary reason people many times don't think about, when you pass away, your spouse now went from paying taxes as a joint tax filer to now being a single tax filer. And in our tax structure, that means they could have the exact same income, but their tax liability just went way up. Life insurance, being completely tax-free, is a way to protect your spouse, whether they're losing some income or even just from the increased tax burden when you pass away. Number 5, long-term care. When you think about living longer, many times health doesn't go as long as our lifetime does. And so if health starts to fail, you sometimes need somebody to help take care of you. If that's the case, that ain't cheap. And so there are insurances out there that will help to cover the cost of that. So back in number 3, when we were talking about stress testing your retirement, part of that stress test should include what happens if I need to increase my spending because I need somebody to care for me. And then run it and say, am I better off or worse off, more or less likely to have success if I have long-term care insurance or if I don't? And again, long-term care insurance is really just coverage that will give you peace of mind and probably a higher chance of success, knowing that those costs will be covered through some sort of insurance program. Knock on wood, you never need it, but should you need some sort of additional care. And finally, you need to adjust your portfolio. When you think about how your portfolio has been managed up until this point, many times as people are saving for retirement, they use what we call a pooled investment plan. You may see it on your 401k statement like a target date fund, or they might call it a life path or a life stage fund. What those investments do is they're designed to have all of your diversification in one fund. Then as you get closer to retirement, it gets more conservative and adjusts for you. So you don't have to be the expert when it comes to how do you invest your money. Great strategy when you're working. The problem is when you retire, you completely change the problem set. Now, instead of putting money in and looking to grow the money, you now have to start taking money out. Well, what happens is when you go to take that money out, what happens to the asset when it's down in value? Let's say the market had a big tumble. Well, if it's in this pooled investment strategy, you have to sell the winners and the losers. You can't isolate and say only sell the winners. The analogy I like to use is think about a bowl of soup. You know, if you stick your ladle into that pot and want to dish yourself a bowl, you can't say, I don't want any peas, don't give me the peas, or I don't want any celery, or only give me the meat. Now when you dip it in, you have to get a little bit of everything. It's the same thing in that pooled investment. When you go to sell to take money out, you have to sell a little bit of everything. So by getting your portfolio right and adjusting the portfolio, what we actually do is we start taking those pieces and separating them back out. Even if you had the exact same makeup of your portfolio, by separating them into their components instead of that pooled strategy, you can now be very strategic when it comes time to taking your income to make sure that you're selling what's high, not what's low, and that you've got a strategy going forward for where's that income going to come from. So those are the things we think you need to focus on when either you're at retirement age or going into retirement. Again, it's set a realistic budget. Make sure that you have an income plan. Stress test the overall plan. Make sure what your likelihood for success is. Protect yourself with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and then make sure that your portfolio has been adjusted properly. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you found this helpful. For more resources, head to our website, pv-wp.com. Thank you.